So today's side opposition has come up to us and drawn to us several arbitrary lines and compared chemical weapons to rape and torture, when today, if they really want to ban such weapons, we think that the comparison they should be doing is against conventional weaponry like guns, like drone strikes, and not rape and torture. So with that in mind, 3 points of contention today. Firstly, on the nature of chemical weapons. Secondly, on the shifting norms. And thirdly, on military independence. So firstly, on the nature of chemical weapons, right? So firstly, they came out and told us that chemical weapons are just like rape and torture, and like we should never condone these acts. So we already talked, my first speaker has already responded in POI that chemical weapons are not like rape and torture. What's the difference? Chemical weapons are a form of weaponry, when rape and torture in themselves do not accomplish anything in war. So we think that there's a potential for chemical weapons to be used in a situation where no one is harmed as human beings, and whereas when rape in itself is inherently wrong. So we think that that's not the right comparison to make. If you want to ban chemical weapons, you should compare them to conventional weaponry. Then moving on, they told us that chemical weapons are indiscriminate. And we already told you in our POI that it's not as indiscriminate as you think. There's still a potential for you to target specific sites. Like I can target a building and release gas within the building, and that is to extent more targeted than most things. And we think that even if it's indiscriminate, we think that there are several weapons in status quo that already exist that are as indiscriminate, like cluster bombs, like grenades. These things also cause collateral damage. And we think that if you want to draw a line, that's not the right place to draw a line. And then next, they told us that for the last part of his speech, he told us about how chemical weapons are exclusively used upon innocent civilians. So we tell you that this is nothing at all to do with chemical weapons, right? Because if I go out today and I intend to harm innocent people, I can do them with guns, I can do them with bombs, and we think that the fault here lies upon the actor, the person who uses the chemical weapon in this way, and not in chemical weapons in themselves. No, thank you. So we think that it is not correct. It's not right for you to blame chemical weapons upon use. And on our side too, we condemn such behavior, and we too will punish these people rightly should they attack innocent people, as it is against the IHL. And then they told us this thing about how conventional chemical weapons degrade people, but because you kill them and like you degrade them or something. And we think that they have not proven how things that are allowed, like guns and bombs, don't do the same thing to people, because ultimately if you shoot someone, they still die, they still bleed to death, and we think that that's just as degrading as being suffocated by sarin gas. So we think that today they've drawn an arbitrary line between what weapons are allowed and what weapons are not allowed, and if they really want to ban, they should draw the line to fall at a better place. Moving on to the next point of contention, no thank you, about shifting norms. So my first speaker brought up this idea that now there's a proliferation, increasing number of non-state actors acting like in Syria and in Iraq. And we think that the point we are trying to make today is that these people will have chemical weapons whether you like it or not. And the problem is that if you don't allow other states a second strike capability, these non-state actors will have the capacity, will have the incentive, because they're rational and they want to preserve their power, not irrational as they say, to use chemical weapons against these legitimate states. And we think that the problem now is that these legitimate states are being disadvantaged. Yes, ma'am.
Clarification on your earlier statement. IHL in fact states you have to kill humanely, i.e. not let the person bleed to death.
Here. See, okay, so the point is, even if the line between killing humanely and not killing humanely is a very blurry one. And we think that in either case, it is still chemical weapons, the way chemical weapons kill people are still more similar to conventional ways of killing people than ways such as rape and torture. Now, back to the point. So they've entirely ignored this analysis brought by my first speaker about how the norms have shifted, and now it's non-state actors acting. And we think that it's important that you equip other nations with chemical weapons so that they can retaliate. Now, moving on to my third point of contention about military independence, right? So the point my first speaker was trying to make is that now most countries rely on countries such as US and Russia to produce these conventional weaponry because they have a monopoly on them. And we think that the thing about chemical weapons is they're cheap and it's easy to manufacture. So small countries can still have these chemical weapons, can easily produce these chemical weapons by themselves. And now they do not have to rely anymore on these big states, which is a monopoly on these weapons, to be on an equal playing field. And that's what we stand for. Now moving on to my substantive today. my substantive is about why regulation is better than banning, and I have two takes on this. Firstly, why banning harms complying nations, and secondly, why banning only drives it underground. So firstly, banning harms complying nations. So two premises for this tier. First, non-state actors will always have chemical weapons because they ignore legislation, they ignore the chemical convention. And second premise, non-state actors do not have to answer to the people because of the fact that they don't rule by popularity, and therefore they have a greater scope of action they can take. So that means that the only deterrence from them, for them to not use chemical weapons against countries is if those countries have chemical weapons too, and they can retaliate, and they have a second strike capability. No, thank you. In the form of chemical weapons. And so we think that it's not fair that complying nations should be punished for complying, because either they don't have chemical weapons and then they don't have second strike and they're vulnerable to these non-state actors, or they do and they go against UN established conventions. So we think that this dilemma should not exist for these states, and we think that you should allow freedom for them to make the best choice for their defense systems. And moving on to my next tier about how banning only drives it underground. So again, two premises. Firstly, that chemical weapons are cheap and easy to manufacture because right now the materials are commercially available, and if you have a trained chemist, they can easily whip up some sarin gas or some other form of chemical weapons. And second premise, that the demand for chemical weapons will always exist as some states will stockpile chemical weapons for self-defense and in their own interest. So we think that these states will continue to acquire chemical weapons even if you ban them, and they will not admit to it so as to not face pressure from other states. And we think that what happens then is that they allocate fewer resources to these to the maintenance and monitoring of these chemical weapons. And what happens is that there's an increase in security lapses. Now, security lapses are especially problematic in the case of chemical weapons. Why? Because both as I already told you today, right? Chemical weapons are lethal. Chemical weapons are dangerous even in small doses. And we think that means that it's especially important for us to ensure that these chemical weapons are monitored and they can be traced and tagged and accounted for, and such that the chemical weapons don't end up in the wrong hands. So in status quo, right, if it's banned, right, and a vial of sarin gas just appears out of nowhere, we have no idea who it belongs to, we have no idea where it came from, and what happens then is that it causes panic and hysteria, and what happens then is that that vial of sarin gas is grabbed to anyone. So in our paradigm, right, where there's greater transparency in the use of chemical weapons, countries can declare their stockpiles, countries can trade information on how best to maintain these stockpiles, and when security lapses happen, it's easier for us to recover to a more secure stage. So we think that this is analogous to the situation of nuclear weapons, with countries cooperating and international organizations such as the IAEA monitoring all processes. So we think that ultimately today that we've proven to you two things today. Firstly, that the reasons that side opposition has given to ban these weapons are arbitrary, and if they really want to ban chemical weapons based on the reasons they've given, they should ban all forms of weaponry altogether. And we've given you good reasons why you shouldn't ban it. Therefore, I'm very proud to propose.